time and manner required. At this time, we are scheduled for public comment, and we have none at this time. So let's go to continuous improvement student outcomes. Accountability update 2025-26.
Per your board monitoring calendar board, we do have Dr. James Curidan and Dr. Lance Gropel that will be presenting the accountability update for the 25-26 school year. You've been provided some of that information prior to whenever we had provisional ratings. We do have the official ratings that have come in from TEA. This is not required, but we do provide this every year at this time. We will actually have, what is it called now? Not PBI? Not
RDA?
Do I?
No,
Results-driven accountability?
yeah.
TREA, no.
No, the taper report.
TPRS.
Yeah. Taper comes later on in this semester. I believe it'll be towards November or so.
Yeah.
But this is actually the accountability where you get your letter grade discussion.
All right. Thank you, President Atkins, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Crawford. As Dr. Crawford alluded to, we're going to put a lot of numbers up in front of you, overall scores for our campuses. I know we've shared much of this information with you prior to tonight. But as Dr. Crawford alluded, those were provisional ratings. These are solidified ratings, and I'll have Dr. Curtin talk us through that.
All right, so just a quick reminder about the accountability system and the way it's set up. There's 4 domains. TA will sometimes say 3 domains, but there's essentially 4 domains that every campus and district are evaluated on. The first one is student achievement. The other 2 fall under school progress, which measures growth, and then measures relative performance, which literally just takes into account the percent of students that are economically disadvantaged or on free and reduced lunch at a campus. Of those 3 domains, or 2 up here, student achievement and school progress, the highest score is used for 70% of a campus's rating. The other 30% comes from closing the gaps, where every campus is evaluated on, regardless of what happens with student achievement and school progress. So first, I'm going to start with the district ratings. You can see we came out at an 83 overall. So we were at an 80 in domain 1. Relative performance, again, came in as our biggest strength. We were at an 83 there, and then we did a pretty good job closing gaps at an 82. So a second consecutive year where we've improved on that 77 to an 81 and then an 83. We've been chasing this post-secondary readiness indicator as a district. We're about 18 more indicators essentially away from getting that, so that's something we'll continue to chase in the future. Here's elementary ratings, kind of give you a 4-year snapshot. The accountability reset happened back in 22-23, so you're looking at apples to apples there as you look at these 4 years for every campus. Overall, elementaries, I think we saw a little bit of a dip. We had a few more Ds. Obviously, we had Austin come in at an F this year, but as a whole, we made a lot of progress, had a lot of A's and B's this year as well. For our secondary campuses, they had a real strong year. Bolter came up to a 68, and then everybody else was an A or a B. Tyler Legacy kept pushing up. Tyler High made a huge jump up to an 86, and so you'll see some solid improvement there. I did want to mention with the elementary, obviously, Jones came in at an A. That's a big deal. Clarkston had some big improvement. So we saw some big jumps. There were some bumps, but there were some big jumps as well, both at elementary and secondary levels. When we talk distinctions, we're really talking, the easy way to think about distinctions is how we're performing, or our campuses are performing relative to their peers, or campuses that look like them. So you can see in this particular year, we had a down year in terms of distinctions. We still did earn distinctions across the board, but it just depended on which one and how many. Across the board, we were down everywhere except academic growth and post-secondary readiness. And if you look at where these distinctions were, here's kind of a breakdown over the last 4 years. Burwell got a clean sweep with all 7 distinctions. Bonner and Caldwell came in at 5. Clarkston picked up 2. Both them and Jones got the largest number of distinctions they've ever had, so they both had good years. You'll see Owens and Woods in there, and then Early College picked up 4 with Hubbard and Three Lakes. And that's a quick summary if you have any questions.
Mr. Lassay.
Thank you, Madam President. A couple of questions, or just observations. Explain to me what relative performance is. How do they measure that? What's the measurement on that?
Sure. Yeah, so relative performance, essentially, the way to think of it is it's curving their domain one based on the ECODIS number, or the free and reduced lunch number. So our campuses that have a large percent of students on free and reduced lunch, it will essentially curve those cut points to reflect that population of students and kind of their performance relative to other campuses that look like them. And it's based on old data, so it doesn't change every year. It'll be reset again every 5 years, but the cut points stay the same for that group of campuses for 5 years. So it's basically a curve is the way to think of it, a curve for domain one.
So it's a curve based on Title I information, low economic deal, stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
On your next slide, the A's and B's in the elementary. And try to work with me here, because I'm very simple in my thinking. That old Longview High School diploma. I almost feel like we got this thing inverted. Like we're performing well at the secondary levels, high schools, middle schools, even addressing Bolter. But at the elementaries, we're being challenged a little bit more. And so I'd like to talk about that a little bit, if the president would indulge me. It looks by my simple math that 59% of our elementaries went backwards. That's not just the bulk of them, that's more of a majority. What do you attribute that to? If we can take Austin and put it aside, what would you attribute that to? Because we're measuring this stuff on our beginning of the year, which I think they're going into right now, middle of the year, and then the finished product. But what do you think's going on there? Because at this level, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, we can control their diet, what they wear, pretty much within certain things, almost everything at that level. What do you think is causing that regression at the elementary level?
So I think there's a couple of factors there. I've talked to many school folks around the state. Their data looks very similar to ours in the performance this year. I would say the biggest thing for us is we've been, as using Dr. Crawford's terminology, we've been riding the roller coaster, right? A lot of our campuses have been relying on Domain 2A, which is solely student growth. And so when you look at several of our campuses that did go backwards, they're typically a Domain 2A campus that's where they've performed and performed well. And what you see in this accountability system is when you have a really good year in Domain 2A, the next year there is a regression. It doesn't matter if you're talking about Andy Woods or if you're talking about Dixie Elementary. If you have a really strong year in Domain 2A, there's going to be a level of regression. It's the way the system is in essence designed to have that level of regression. It's not an excuse, but the reality for us and the reason that we've embarked on this journey with ESE is to be a very successful campus and district in Domain 1. If you're winning in Domain 1 and that's what you're relying on your success, that means kids are meeting the standard, they're passing, their approaches meets or masters on the assessment, and when we get to that point of winning in Domain 1, then you won't see these up and down years. So if you look at 24-25, we've got one D campus, and then you've got 5 this year in the numbers. And so not having to rely on that growth metric to determine our campus's overall success will be what gets us back on the right track of where we want to be.
So these look like spikes to me, almost if you were looking at blood work or anything like that, they look like spikes. And try to figure out what's the patient doing, our student population, our community, to have that going on. Do the scores when we're doing beginning, middle, and end of the year stuff play into this soup where we're saying, okay, we're taking this data in, how does that affect our overall performance as far as the A rating, B rating, whatever it is. Does that play into it at all, or are they not synced up together?
No, I think that's what we've always, school districts have always tried to do as far as getting on the projection system. And that's why we've got the beginning, middle, and end of year I-ready. And that's about to change
Yep.
here in a year. That's, 3-year testing is going to be coming from TEA. Now, they're going to give you a choice board on whether or not you want to go with their product or use your own products, and then take their product at the end of it. And we're probably going to be jumping on the TEA train. So there's a little preview of that. But yes, that is part of the things that we try to do. And I'll allude back to something that Dr. Gropel talked about, and that is that we did see statewide a lot of slippage. Even Commissioner Morath has even gone on record in the media and in the papers talking about how our elementary schools did this. We did mirror that. That is something we're trying to put a thumb on. The other thing I'll say is that when you start talking about percentage, about going backwards, I mean, Bonner going from a 92 to an 89, statistically speaking, how many kids is that, Dr. Curidan?
They were, I want to say it was around 5 kids away from being a 90.
Yeah, so I mean, we could have easily, been sitting here talking about that, and we've got some 9s on there, whether it be a 79 or a 69 or an 89, that we were a few kids away from having a different conversation about
Yep.
that. I mean, it is what it is, and we've got to do better. But at the same time, whenever you start talking about how it relates relative to what the rest of the state looked like as far as testing goes this year, we were pretty similar. I will say this, when you start talking about we're inverted, we've had years to where our high schools underperformed and our elementary schools overperformed, and we've had these same conversations when we get to this as well. I don't think it's a perfect system, and I even think that maybe even Austin will tell you the same thing, that it is not a perfect system, that you do use to see how you did the year before and where you can make improvements. Last thing I'll say is apples and apples. We're always trying to figure out a way to see where we can compare kids because this year's third graders are last year's second graders, and this year's fourth graders are last year's third graders. So that's going to be something that's going to be of interest, especially when you start talking about domain 2A and seeing what type of growth does in this last year of this accountability reset before we blow the whole thing up and start over again. So we're anticipating a good year here. We've made some triage adjustments well in advance that we started last year at this time. And so that's kind of a little bit of a snapshot from the soup's chair.
Quick question on that, and I'll wind it up here. What would you consider then I agree with you, when you look at Douglas and they go back, at 7 points, to me, that's a good amount, but what would you consider a negligible amount of percentage points? Or 12 percentage points. That's a pretty good dip in a one-year period. And so my question would be, what would you consider a negligible percentage point on that? And for future purposes, I'd like a little more data on this dashboard, if I can call this screenshot, that, for example, the budget of the school beside it, the principal's tenure, those type of things for me, from an overall governance standpoint, help me say, okay, principal's been there 10 years. Makes sense that score would be what it is. So just a little bit more data on that, a little bit more on that. I would like to have that, but what would you consider a negligible amount of percentage points? Thank you.
Yeah, 4 to 5 points probably, because you start talking about a few scores that, if it's 5 kids can get you 1 point, then that's something that you can think about. The size of our elementary schools, the size of our classes that are there. We've got some campuses that have 1 monolingual class per grade, and that can sink you or save you depending upon what that is. So that's something that probably I would say that anywhere from 4 to 5 points. And like I said, you can infer on some of these that were very close to say that we'd have a different conversation about this. We might not have been happy with the actual number they got, but as far as the letter grade that they got would be a different thing if we'd have got a point or two here or there.
Thank you, Madam President. Do you think it would behoove us to look at a different measuring stick? We know we use the I-ready stuff, the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year stuff. Is there another stick out there that we could use that maybe could say correlates better with this, would be my first question. And on the small percentage of numbers, I agree with you. There's sometimes you got 5 kids or 6 kids in a school that do that. But that that could be an advantage. We could manipulate that, for lack of a better word, to a certain degree as far as focusing on those kiddos and getting us to that next level. If it's that small a percentage in some of those campuses that are doing it, maybe manipulation wasn't the right word. I've been known to use the wrong word from time to time, but focus on those small areas to get us over that hump.
Well, if you look at Austin, third grade, I think, they had one monolingual class in third grade last year,
Yep.
15 students.
Less than 20.
Ish.
Yeah.
So if you improve 5 of their scores, that's a 33%. And I mean, it's just like having a good week in baseball. You go
Yeah.
5 for 15 and you hit 330 or whatever it is. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, you had a great week. So you're right that some of those smaller, if you could really target those and really a small percentage, but that only helps you in domain 2A. And we've got to get domain 1 solidified to where the at-bats are coming every day for all kids and making sure that they're getting that. And I think that our instructional theory of action is going to wind up paying dividends for us down the road. And you've seen that in action before. Is that the only, did I answer, did you only have one question there?
Yeah, no, that was good. I just, for future.
Oh, the other measuring stick.
Right, the other measuring stick, and also for your staff, if they could include, out beside it, budget size of that campus, principal tenure would be big for me, just to see how long the principal's been there. So that when we look at that, because what I have to do a lot of the time is go in and look at this data and say, okay, well, how much social economic do we have here? What's the principal tenure? What's the size of the budget? You know, just kind of from an enterprise standpoint, looking at that. It would be helpful to me. I don't know if it would be helpful to the other trustees, but I would really like that if possible.
That's fine. Inherit when you look at it every day. We just know it. So
Dr.
we can get that for y'all.
Thank you. Thank you all for providing this data. Question about domain 1. Of course, as a former employee, I understand how important trying to close those gaps and trying to see growth each year. And I hear us talking about domain 1 student achieve. We have certain programs and things in place, but could you get a little bit more specific about what are we doing to try to win in domain 1?
Yeah, as Dr. Crawford alluded to it, our instructional theory of action, looking at what does Tier 1 instruction look like on a daily basis, ensuring that our curriculum is aligned to that theory of action, and then, as Dr. Crawford said, making sure that kids get at-bats every day, get the opportunity to practice and demonstrate their knowledge and skills that then allows our teachers to provide those interventions to close the gaps of those kids that may not have grasped it that first time, and ensuring that they have the time in their intervention. Additionally, Dr. Cureton and his team put together, we call it an accountability tracker, but it tracks student data and it breaks it down to the individual student, and it allows our teachers to break it down to, hey, we just took this assessment, student XYZ did not meet or master the skill that we were in there, so I need to design some small group instruction opportunities for those kids in the upcoming days to help close those gaps so those gaps don't continue to grow. I think you see that more often in math because everything builds off of each other. So making sure that we're providing those early intervention and then just really quality Tier 1 instruction every single day in every classroom. And I've been very excited to see the quality of instruction. Ms. Sherman and I were talking about it before the meeting started, of just a much higher quality of Tier 1 instruction in every classroom we've been able to walk into over the last 8 days of instruction for us.
Dr. Bircher, we've got some field trips that are on the horizon.
Awesome.
That we'll be offering to board members to actually go see some of this in action. So you'll understand what's the model and what we're striving to get to. Of course, you're all welcome to go ahead and visit campuses whenever we need to. So, but that will be something if y'all would like to go on those field trips. We did it last year at this time. That'd be something you can go see.
Yeah. Another question that I have is about the data and how intimidating it could be for a teacher. You got a room full of students, maybe 28, maybe 31, depending on the grade level, right? And I am expected to use my PLC time effectively to break down that data, to develop my small group. So what does professional development look like for them to help them understand how to zone in? And not that they're not doing it already, but I just kind of want more of a scope of kind of what that looks like for them in those.
Yes, ma'am. Obviously, it's going to look a little bit different from campus to campus, but you all as a board, we as a district have embraced the philosophy of everybody gets a PLC time, and that's where our instructional leaders on the campus drive that work of being able to sit down, utilize the data protocols that Dr. Cureton and his team have developed to help teachers understand what the data is telling them, and then look at curriculum interventions with support from our curriculum team as well as their principal to ensure that they understand what the data is telling them and they know how to provide the adequate intervention for little Susie that's struggling with algebraic reasoning or what have you.
All right, Soup, tell me if I'm getting in the weeds. But I would love to see a PLC in action, maybe at some point throughout this field trip session.
And I remember from PLCs, we took the data and we discussed it with our department and how could we work together to break it down. And if you didn't understand, somebody was there to help you to understand it and to how to make that into a lesson or to help somebody else. So our PLCs were very effective when it came to that. So I can attest to that part. Definitely in ELAR. At 3 Lakes, we were effective, so.
Quick question, if I can, Madam President. On the, sometimes I feel like we're playing whack-a-mole a little bit. I remember that game, whack-a-mole. Is there a way, Soup, to align these schools? I know we've seen that at different conferences and things, to align some of these elementaries with a middle school and say, okay, we're doing this at Boulder, we're doing the new education system, the ACE model over there. Is there a way to align them and say, okay, this is what you're gonna get in the next grade levels?
Vertical alignment doesn't do that?
You mean, everything's scaffolded as far as our curriculum goes, and it does build upon the previous year and the content.
No, I'm not meaning that. No, I got you on that. I'm talking about the actual system itself, like the feeder patterns to Bolter, the feeder patterns to Moore, to the other schools. Is there a way to align what you're going to be seeing when you get over there? Because when you get over to Bolter, you're going to see a whole different thing than what you're seeing over at Moore. I think we can agree on that, if anybody who's seen those models.
That's correct. So we've got 9 campuses that are using, when we start saying theory of action, it's the actual mechanics of instruction on a daily basis.
Right.
We've got curriculum that we've borrowed and adopted from another school district, per se, and they are using those in those 9 campuses. The Evergreen Systems of Excellence is using the NES curriculum, the new education system as developed by Mike Miles. Got him a shout out there. So in saying that, those are predominantly feeders into Bolter.
Yeah.
So instructionally speaking, the model is the model. The coaching in real time, the spot observations, the demonstration of learning, those things are actually happening in grades 3 through 5 in those feeder patterns that are going to Bolter. As far as the system goes, the ACE system goes, what you're seeing as Bolter is more modeled after an elementary school than whatnot. But it is exactly the same way at the elementary as far as the mechanics of the switching classes and everything. No, but at the same time, we're not staffed for that. So it is not aced. It is not, we have not put TIA teachers at those 9 elementaries. What we're doing is trying to get the instruction fixed at those 9 elementaries because that's what we can afford to do. That's what we're staffed to do as well. So, so to answer your question, yes, they are being exposed to what the instructional model will look like once they get to Bolter, starting this year. And we weren't going to do that. We made that decision deeper in the spring, I believe. I got people sitting in the back, Dr. Markle and Ms. Sherman back there, that we weren't going to do that at these campuses, but we did decide to do that in around March, I think, is whenever we decided to do it. So answer your question, yes, they are getting exposed to what it looks like.
You know, I'd also like to say, if I can, I'll finish up. We did see great improvement. Look at Jones, it's a 16-point spike. I mean, to me, that's unbelievable. I'd be over at Jones asking her, what in the world is she doing over there to get that thing rocking and rolling. We got an 8% points increase at Clarkston. I mean, that's really something to look at. Jack, 7 percentage points. I know you said anything below 4 or 5, you're probably negligible, but there's some bright spots in here. I don't want to poo-poo all over this, but there's some work to be done.
Well,
Thank you.
and I'll make this statement one more time. I think Dr. Gropel made this. Jones's spike was in domain 2A, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've got to quit relying on these 2A years to where we have an average year or below average year, and then we get them improved. Because that just means that it doesn't mean we're doing it on purpose, because you can't game the system that way. You used to could game the system that way. You cannot game the system that way anymore in this 2.0 redesign. So they did have a great year. We want sustainability. Let me give you one campus on here that has proven that they can sustain, even though they had a 74 last year, and that's Ramey. Ramey's kind of figured out domain 1 is the sweet spot. That's where they're getting better, and that's Angelica Brown. She's in year 5 as principal over there. Yeah. So she gets the domain oneness that we're striving for. Bonner's been the same way as well. So those are some kudos that we can provide. If we see Jones seeing that, and these trends of this whack-a-mole can go away, you're going to have an A-rated district if we can get there.
Quick question, Dr. Crawford. We're trying to get to this A-rated school district. But what I see also when looking at the ratings, we have consistently have a group of campuses that are not performing in the way we should. Going back for a few years, it's the same campuses and same type of performances. Sometimes you have spikes, sometimes you don't. My first question is, as our leader here, what are we doing to try to stop those gaps in achievement for those campuses? Specifically, you can look at Douglas, Griffin, or Pete, and Ramey is coming forward. But looking at Douglas, Griffin, or Pete and Ramey, what are we doing from at CEO level to help in getting those ratings consistent with the rest of the district?
CEO level, you don't let things persist the way that they've always been done. And so instructionally speaking, we've been on this year journey to bring on the Evergreen Systems of Excellence, the ESE, to change the instructional model at the campuses that need it the most. We've prioritized those campuses that you just described to be the ones that receive that special attention. And y'all have been asking these questions about resource allocation. That has been more attention and more resource allocation than other parts of the school system that are stable. So that's what I've been doing, is redeploying attention and resources to where they need them the most, and especially in changing that theory of action. You can have theory, you can have philosophy, but if you don't put it in place, in motion, it's never going to get done. You can talk about it all day. These campuses are actually getting the better stuff, the good stuff. I won't say the better stuff, but the good stuff that they've never received before. And that is, again, demonstration of learning in real time by students every day, being monitored in real time by campus leadership, and then spot observations coming in from teams of either district personnel or departmental personnel to make sure that there's coaching in real time of the principal and the teacher as well. That's never been done here, because we've been looking for that. We can talk about the principles of learning from the University of Pittsburgh all we want to. We can talk about from the Institute for Learning. We can talk about the true framework. We've had some of these things come in front of us before, and getting all these consultants to come in. I've never seen anything that's been as applicable to trying to change the instructional program is what we've got going on right now. And that is done with a very novice teaching faculty, because we're not getting any older as far as hiring new teachers. It's very novice and green, new to the profession, maybe fresh out of college teachers that are now coming in. And so if you're seeing that in your Fort Worths and your Houstons, a lot of DOI teachers, I know that's up for debate as well. They're not hiring a bunch of certified teachers. And if you ask Superintendent Mike Miles about DOI effectiveness, about teacher certification impact, and whether or not that matters or not, he's trying to, and we're trying to as well, figure out a way to not rely upon that teacher certification. If we're not going to be producing more teachers that are certified in the state, we've got to have systems in place that can provide the resources and the instructional tools for that teacher to be effective in that class, and that's what we're doing. So, long answer to your question is that you got to change what you're doing to expect different results.
Exactly. So are we having a lot of turnover in those schools? When I say turnover, I'm not talking necessarily about the principal, but the teachers, the instructional consultants. Are they turning over a lot or being moved somewhere else? Because that could affect also the performance of the school.
Yes,
Not just that, I'm sorry, not just that, but what's the mobility rate at those campuses? That goes back to my question earlier about more data. What's the mobility rate at those campuses? If I took a campus like a Woods and I compared it to an Orr, what would my mobility rate be? What would the tenure of the teachers, of the paraprofessionals be? All that data, I think, is essential to us evaluating this information. I'm sorry for interrupting.
so on that list, Clarkston, I believe, has the highest mobility rate. Is that correct, Dr. Curidan?
That is
It's one of the
probably-
higher ones, if not the highest.
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay. So I can't answer that for you. I don't carry individual mobility rate information on there. But you're right. As far as teacher turnover goes, yes, it's going to have teacher turnover. A lot of our campuses are going to have teacher turnover. That is the state of the nation as far as education goes in Texas public schools. So I can't tell you here exactly. I can anticipate, we can infer that probably they have some turnover.
Yeah.
So
Comparison to some other ones. To Andy Woods, no. I mean, because Andy Woods has a principal that's been there for 13 years. And you don't have teacher turnover at a place that's got a tenure of 13 years.
So I understand that. It seems to me that when you have stable teachers, stable administrators, that more than likely that school would do better.
Correct.
And so if we are having schools that have a lot of turnover, do we ever look into do we ever look into why we have the turnover? Is it they're aging out, or is it something else? They don't like TISD for some odd reason that shouldn't happen, but
Absolutely.
why? What would you think the turnover would be? Just ask.
The why?
Yeah, the why.
Oh, I don't. I'm just saying, you're asking if we look into it. Absolutely, we do. HR does provide an opportunity for an exit interview from every employee that leaves this district, correct, Mr. Jones? That's correct. Okay. So we do that. We do that. We also provide culture surveys called OHI that's on that campus that does measure the campus culture and climate of that campus as well. So we do have some data points that we can take a look at as well.
Last thing.
And I'll say one other thing. The principalship is tough. This accountability is tougher than it's ever been. And it is a survival of the fittest. It's a Thunderdome type of mentality that you get into a campus and you're competing, and sometimes the principal can't handle it, they bolt. So you're looking for a new principal. Or we've got to make a change because we can't just keep going on. I got told a long time ago, as a principal, you sign on the dotted line, that's your baby. It's not central office's job to prop up a poor performing principal just because of who that individual is. And they get it. And so if they can't get it done, they go find another place of employment, or we have to make a change on it. And so that does disrupt some things as well. There's no doubt.
The last thing, in looking at this holistically, seems like certain campuses are doing good, certain campuses are not. And that disparity has been there for many years. And it seems it's there now. It's been there 3 years ago. It's been there 4 years ago. It's been there 10 years ago. So it seems like we're really not correcting those conditions. We're just highlighting other things. My question is, what can we do to correct the conditions that causes these disparities in our students?
I'll say that since accountability came into effect in 2000, some of those campuses have been the same. I'm not going to say a decade, I'm going to say 25 years ago with No Child Left Behind. We do have some examples of how things are done well at some of these that have been traditional. You talked about Jones. You talked about Bonner. You talked about Ramey. Ramey's 79 with its economically disadvantagedness, and 82 years ago, pretty impressive if you understand the accountability system. So I'll say this, that your Front Street elementary schools that bookend Front Street, having the year they had last year, does prove that it can be done at our campuses. 13 years ago, 14 years ago, you had 13 improvement required campuses over low performing campuses. So we've cut that in half as far as low performing campuses, and sometimes they've got it down to 3 or 2 a year. So it's not showing up on this right now, but if you understand the accountability system, there are some dents being made in some of those traditionally schools that have been up here not performing. So I think we're making some progress there. And you're going to ask how. I'm going to go back to the instructional theory of action that we're putting in place now. That's how you figure it out. You change instruction, and you figure out a way to get better at instruction. We have not had a great system of instruction until what we can get behind now, in my opinion. We've had a lot of theory, but we hadn't had a whole lot of action. And that's the problem with education in general, is that you have a whole lot of professorial type of thought that goes into this about how you should be doing it. This is a different style of opportunity that we're providing here, and we should see a boost.
Bookend schools on front, are we talking Jones and Caldwell?
Bonner.
And Caldwell.
Well, Caldwell's in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I was
Bookend.
saying, Caldwell's in the middle.
Bookend.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jones and Bonner have a eco-dis of,
95.
Bonner's got 98,
Yeah, north of 95, both of them.
north of 95. So if you want to look at models, they did some pretty good things and have done some good things.
You also have a very, if I may, Madam President, you also have a very homogeneous population. From my studies, and I'm just a layman at this, I'm not a PhD in education. If you have a homogeneous group of kids, patients, and you introduce a remedy for whatever it is, it seems to solve it for all of them. I think our demos work to our advantage at Bonner. They work to our advantage at certain campuses. It's where you fragment it out, where you have, 60% this and 20% that and 20% that. Then you're having to go and address each individual group. And so if you look down at the Valley, go to Brownsville, go to Alice, Texas, go to the McAllens, they solve one thing, and it solves it for all of them, because they're all, whatever it is, social economic, ELLE, whatever they call it now. But so I think those demos work to our favor to a certain degree when we're addressing those problems. I echo what Dr. Hubbard and Dr. Bircher are saying. I think we have some bright spots here, but there are some campuses that have traditionally struggled. And I want to know, not just the things you're talking about, which are very important, the meat and potatoes of this thing, because it costs more money to educate kids at Orr. It costs more money to educate kids at Birdwood. It just does. That it is what it is. And Dr. Bircher and I have had these conversations before from an enrichment perspective. When my kid shows up to learn on day one, he's got a broad base of things that he's already seen just from exposure. Do you think there's anything we could do? Because I know that the teacher is probably the most important thing in the classroom. But man, there's a lot of stuff outside the classroom that we could be doing. Is there anything that you would suggest, Sue, any theories, suggestions, whatever, that we could do outside of that classroom setting that would help get those kids there on day one with a broader base of knowledge where they can reference from?
A broader base of knowledge they can reference from? You talk about them showing up to school?
I'm talking about, you know, when our kids show up to school, they've been to New York City, they've been to the Grand Canyon, they've seen these things, and so the word majestic means different when you've seen the Grand Canyon. The word, a lot of these words take on new meanings when you have a broad base of exposure. I'm talking more of exposure, and I'm not talking about sending every kid to New York City. Obviously, that's cost prohibitive, but is there something within our means that we could do to expose these children to those type of reference points, that we could do that for them in a cost-effective manner?
As far as them showing up with that, I mean, that's, you're talking about kids that come in before we're ever influencing them. I mean, if you look at your curriculum and what Bluebonnet is supposed to be doing down the road, I mean, that's one thing that they've talked about is through their text is getting some opportunities that maybe they're not receiving. I don't know if that's what you're looking for on that or not, but as far as the community providing them a different experience or their homes providing them some type of experience you just described, that's around the dinner table. And I don't know what we're going to do because we're doing a lot. When you start talking about the expenditures that you spend here, obviously they receive more Title I dollars at campuses if they have a higher economic disadvantages. So enrichment activities do come through some of that as well, but if you look at the model that's coming out of some of these turnaround districts, they're not chasing that stuff. They are focusing on what happens when they get to school, and that's through improved instruction. So, I mean, it's a good question to ask. What can we do to provide more exposure to being school-ready? If that's the term, then yes, your daycare centers, your pre-K programs that are not associated with Tyler ISD, your home life, that's a good question. And I don't have the remedy for that. And if I did, I probably would be doing something else and making a whole lot of money. Because that's the question I think you get everywhere, probably.
You are doing the Rose City summer camps.
Yeah, mentoring alliance and all that.
No doubt. I mean, that is something, once they get to us, we're trying to attack the summer. And I wish more of those that we provide opportunity for would take advantage of it. Some of our campuses are packed in the summer with Rose City. The ones where we need them the most, they're not coming. They don't see the value in it. They won't do it. They won't ask their kids to go get it when we're running buses and spending money to go pick them up and to feed them every day.
I'm sorry, what is Rose City Summer Camp?
Rose City Summer Camp was brought on here a dozen years ago to try to eliminate the summer slide. We've got data that the summer slide being the learning loss.
Yeah, I get that.
And we've got it stationed throughout the 3 campuses throughout the city. Is that correct, Dr. Grove?
We did 2 this summer. The Bolter site didn't make, so we bused those kids over to Moore.
Yeah. So we try to have three sites, and they get 2 hours of school instruction every day, and then they get a camp experience for the other 8 hours of the day. They run it from 6 a.m. or 7 a.m.
7 to 5, I believe.
7 to 5 in the summer. How many weeks? 10?
8.
8 weeks. Scholarships are available. Tuition is available as well. And we,
One year you did free at Bolter, wasn't it? Pick up and.
oh yeah, we run transportation. We run. We provide the transportation. We provide the teaching staff that goes there as well. What else do we provide?
Meals.
Meals, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a really good program. Just
Hungry kids don't learn well.
would love to, what's the old saying about leading a horse to water? Can't make them drink. We would love for people to drink out of that, absolutely. It does have some faith-based components to it as well, but you can't opt out of it if you don't want to do that. I think 98% people opt in for the
Yes.
faith-based.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, consider approval of the district improvement plan, campus improvement plans, and planning process.
I believe y'all have been
Send that via email.
you've been provided an email for that. It's a pretty large document. Obviously, at the first of school, there's been years to where we've actually provided that long time ago, deep into the school year. So you've got it at the very, like, 10 years ago. You've got it in your hands now to where you can take a look at that. Did you print that off, Mr. Lisea?
I printed one off for one specific.
For one campus?
For one specific campus.
Okay, very good. So you've got a whole lot of those. You've got 25-plus of those improvement plans, along with the district improvement plan as well.
Some goals and something.
Yeah, goals that are in there as well. So take a look at that, and that is a living document, obviously. So at your leisure, and you get your time to be able to look at that, if you've got questions, we'll get you in touch with a school supervisor or a deputy superintendent in regard to that.
Okay. So it's consider approval, so don't I need to make a
No,
motion?
ask questions first.
Huh?
Ask questions.
Anybody have any questions?
You kind of answered it already, but I appreciate that we are getting these out earlier, because I was like, if we're making a decision tonight, I don't have enough time to make an informed decision. But I just want to share with the dais, as I was going through them for the little time that I did have, I had a question about, like, what is the expectation for getting these completed and turned in, and what does the review process look like? Because as I was going through some of these, I was like, this sounds like tradition is going to get us beat. It wasn't very specific to the needs of the campus or what the data is saying. And then it seemed very generic in some aspects. Some schools, thorough, lots of detail. You could tell that they were like desegregating the data. And then other campuses, and I'll even say Boulter, for example, 15 pages and a D. But everybody else's is like 20 to 30 pages long. And so just some thoughts about that, but curious about the expectation and then the review process of those.
Madam President, I echo on what Dr. Bircher is saying. I went through a few of these, specifically Austin, because it sticks out like a sore thumb to me. Very much the same thing. Some of it seems like we were checking a box just to check a box. Root cause, there are undetermined systems of differentiated Tier 1 instruction and targeted innovations. Guys, I've been on the board twice. I don't know what in the world that means. I have no idea what that means. And so I would like a little bit more substance, a little bit more meat on that bone to tell me what's going on, especially at this one, because this to me is a important campus right now because it's on our radar, because it's not performing at the levels we think it should. And so when these reports are done, and I understand people got a lot of stuff to do, but this one's pretty thick, but that means nothing to me. And maybe it's just me. Maybe one of you guys read that and actually get something out of it. But I don't get what that means. I would like a little more substance to that and find out what's actually going on with the person who wrote that to explain that portion of it to me. But I echo her comments on that as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Anybody else?
One last thing, the goal for about safe and supportive schools. I know district-wide, we talk about a lot of things that were implemented from the counseling department, from threat assessment teams, school safety and all of that. And I'm curious to know, I worked on one campus where I was a part of that CIP process, and there are a lot of things that we're implementing and talking about as a district. And so also just curious about whether school counselors are participating in that CIP process, because I think they have a lot of value to add to specifically Goal 4, which will also help with academic achievement. And I'm sure it's campus by campus, but if it's in our district plan, I think it needs to be a priority across the board.
Noted.
Okay. It's time for executive session. Wake up, y'all. We are now.
Hold on a
Oh, no,
second.
we don't. We need to-
So part of y'all getting the district improvement plan, the campus improvement plans, and the planning process, it's good that y'all have questions, because I have questions as well. But the approvals for the plan has been presented to y'all, and that you approve the process, because again, it's a living document. So you got to
We've had
take
to crack
action on
those.
it. So
Okay.
I'm just saying, I heard your suggestions and everything like, but it does have to have a vote on it, that it has been presented to y'all.
That we got a chance to look at it, but if we're not necessarily voting that we agree with everything that's in there.
Or that you have big-time concerns about it. So I'm just,
Who actually fills this out, Sue? Like, who makes this document? Is that at the campus level?
every
Is it-
campus have a campus improvement team, and the district has the same thing as well.
So at the campus level, the principal's
It's the
filling this
old
out?
SBDM teams. If you were on the board a long time ago, site-based decision making.
Site-based decision-making.
It's the same thing that they had that back in 1995 or whenever they started SBDM. This is what this has evolved into. So yes, you have different teams on the campuses. You have the district improvement team as well. I think Dr. Ward's the one that runs ours, puts ours together. And so that's done.
I'm confused on the titles and the org chart. Who would we say is the equivalent of the Director of Elementary Education? Who would we say is that,
So on the org chart, you've got Dr. Gropel is K through 8.
right?
All right, he has an executive director that's got Ms. Dykeman sitting back there. And then you've got Rachel Sherman, who's got the ESD campuses. That's up.
She's moved into Bobby's old job. Right? Dr. Sherman?
By title.
Okay.
She was supervising elementary campuses as well, but we went to that SGS conference and we saw an org chart that said that maybe your chief innovation officer needs to be one that's supervising your turnaround campuses.
Right.
And that's what she's doing. And Dr. Markle has 3 campuses as well.
Thank you.
So you've got 4 people that are elementary.
If you want a motion, I move to approve the
Process.
process.
There you go.
What do we mean by I'm sorry, I know you made a motion. What do you mean by approve the process, just for clarity?
So statute says that the plans are to be presented to the board, campus and district improvement plans, and that the approval is for the process. In other words, you're approving the process every year, that we've put that in front of y'all. Okay? Again, you may not agree with the contents of it, or you may have suggestions to adjust or
I
get
think
more information.
one other thing about that, I'm not necessarily concerned about the ins and outs of it as far as my suggestions. I think those are things we definitely need to consider, but my one question was about the expectations and review process. And so that's my question to you for tonight, before we move to making a motion and approving it, if you don't mind.
The expectations.
And the review process for these campus improvements.
School supervisors are to review those prior to and sign off on those as well. And then that comes up to us as well, and then either probably a deputy superintendent gets a hold of it. Am I correct on that, Dr. Gropler? Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Now we go into executive session.
Oh,
This meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees was previously called to order. The presence of a quorum has been established, the meeting has been duly called, and the notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. At this time, we'll have pledge and prayer
Prayer and pledge.
by Mr. Murphy.
If everybody can please stand. Father, thank you for this school district and all of the employees and dedicated educators of our youth. Lord, guide us as a board to keep you in the forefront of all of our deliberations. Please watch over our students and staff this school year as we begin another year. We love you and we thank you for all of the blessings you have bestowed on our wonderful town and throughout its history. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We do have a few items out of the executive session.
Madam President,
Aaron?
as a result of leaving and failing to complete her teacher certification program and her subsequent abandonment of her classroom teaching position after the start of the 26-27 school year, I move that the board void the probationary employment contract of Tracy Freeman Sanders and terminate her employment effective immediately, and that the board president be authorized to sign a notification letter informing Tracy Freeman Sanders of her termination.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Mr. Lacia?
I think that's down
No.
here.
No, it's not down here yet, okay.
Special recognition.
Okay, we on that, okay. Hold your horses. Special recognitions. Yay, our favorite part.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Crawford. We would like to go ahead and invite you down in front. We have a few special recognitions from earlier in the year, and now that the school year has started, we are excited to have them. We're going to begin the special recognition part of the meeting by congratulating the following students on their achievements, and we will call all three of y'all up individually and then take a group photo. First, we would like to welcome 3 students from Birdwell Dual Language Immersion School to the front to receive their certificates for placing first, second, and third, respectively, at the regional district level Spanish spelling bee and advancing to compete in the state competition this past June. First up, Tanya Maldonado. Come on down. Next, we would like to invite up Mauro Ortega. Come on down. And last but not least, Maite Betancourt. Come join us. And if we could get y'all all to come stand in front of the board for a group photo, that would be great. And parents, if you want to come forward and take your own photo, please feel free. Yeah, y'all can come on up. Come get your photo. Yeah. Let's give it one more round of applause. Congratulations. We're so proud of you. Next up, we would like to recognize first Tang Hong, followed by Saeed Ali from Tyler Legacy High School for earning 8th place in high school music production at the 2026 National Technology Student Association, or TSA, Conference. Come on down. And then Saeed Ali, come on down too. You're in the picture too. So these are national awards, very impressive boys. Let's give them a round of applause and we'll take your picture. And that concludes our recognitions for this evening.
We're now at the scheduled time for public participation, and we have no one for public participation. So let's go to first week of school update. Superintendent?
Yeah, just real quickly, I've got enrollment counts and program info that's being passed to your spots on the dais. Make sure I can get on the microphone. Statewide trends are coming here to Tyler ISD, and you can see in the total enrollment here at about, current year at about 1842. This time last year, you were at 18,839. I think there's a variety of factors in regard to that. Obviously, over the last 2 years, you kind of grew to about 750 students or so. You can probably count on, by the time we get to snapshot, being around 18,500, which is about where we were before 2 years ago. I know some of you may have questions about vouchers or maybe immigration or other issues. I would probably say it's more likely related to your kindergarten and your first grade numbers. If you think about when these kids were born, that's COVID. You can also think about when these kids were born and what the economy has looked like as well. So I think you're going to probably start seeing this trend not only statewide but nationwide compared with some of the other external factors in regards to enrollments. We're pretty healthy, predictable. We didn't get all excited about 750 students over 2 years. We were very, very conservative in our methodologies in regards to not only enrollment, but as far as budgeting as well. Obviously, we'll be presenting for y'all to adopt a balanced budget. We have not gotten into the world of being inefficient in adopting deficit budgets, et cetera. We've stayed ahead of in the enrollment game, et cetera, et cetera. So here's a little bit of a snapshot for y'all. We're off to a really good start. Obviously, we've had some transportation challenges, just like we do at the first of every year. Some technology things that in regard to the transportation department, not technology per se, in regard to fixing some of those first week hiccups that we had to get our bus drivers to be able to log in and out as far as route coverage goes and whatnot. Pretty good shape as far as staffing goes. One vacancy, Ms. Taylor? 2 vacancies in regular ed classrooms to start the school year out. Is that correct? One regular ed and one sped? Well, that's an improvement from what I heard before I came to the meeting today. So that's a pretty good start in the current state of staffing as well. Again, we've got budget for you to consider tonight. And our board, our budget starts September 1. We're September 1 budget district. Any questions you may have about the start of school?
Madam President. Just a little bit about Bolter. It looks like we're at, projected-wise, we're at 896 last year, and this year we're at 790. You and I talked about this. Where do we think we're going to be at when we do the snapshot in October?
825, 830, more than likely. You could probably, with some of the programmatic changes that we had over there, you probably had some that maybe chose to go to a different path as well. And so not really concerned about the enrollment over there. In fact, that's a pretty good number there. It's manageable for us as we go through the ACE program here as well, especially when you look at the size of our other middle schools. If we were trying to reform, anything over 1,000, that would be a pretty tough push for us as far as staff goes. But it did prove that our staffing models are going to be able to handle that amount of kids in our new ACE reformation.
The other schools, the other 3 comprehensive schools that we have on the, not counting Birdwell or the other ones, because there's a kind of a mix in the choice program, they're right around 1,000, I guess, a pop.
Yep.
Any thought about this one, how we can get it? I know this is a different year with what we're doing over there, but growing it a little bit and getting it up. How much are these capacity-wise? Are we in there? They 1,200 kids, they 1,000 kids,
Yeah, I mean, to be uncomfortable, 1,200, but 1,000's a sweet spot for us to have a manageable facility as far as the logistics go. And so, yeah, them hovering around that as well. You also got to look at other parts of our city, gentrification. Where are children living, I think is one thing that you also take a look at. We haven't studied that in quite a while. We hadn't done a demographic study, I don't think, since 2021, maybe. And so that'll be something that maybe we take a peek at here over the next year or so, because now that we are well into the 21st century, we don't have the DSEG order that constrains us to be able to move boundary lines to kind of balance out our enrollments if we need that strategy. And right now, I don't think we need that strategy. We're pretty comfortable with the amount of kiddos that we've got. And then you've got your 2 boutique middle school programs at Caldwell and Birdwell that could have some of these students inside of them as well.
I'd like to explore that a little bit if my fellow trustees would indulge me. On the demographic study, I think we had one done years ago, probably 20 years ago, and it broke it all the way down, not just to demographics and that, but birth rates, what was replacing each other, what was not. I think that our environment has really changed a lot, and I'd like to see, what do you think something like that would cost us, Soup, nowadays, to do a full-fledged demographic study of how many kids we have, what type of ethnicity, birth rates in those ethnicities, just so that we can kind of get that data to plan for 10, 15 years down the road. What do you think that would run us, if you know?
I don't, but I can get a number. How about that?
Thank you, Madam President.
I'd hate to
Yes,
put that out there.
Guesstimate.
Yeah, 25 to 50,000, I think, is what we've paid in the past. Again, 21 was the last time I think we did it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Madam President.
Go ahead.
One last thing, just curious, because I know we talked about Bonner, Birdwell and Caldwell, students moving probably there, but I noticed like where we're dropping, are some of these students moving to other schools in the district? Maybe they moved across town, like are we tracking that way, or? I'm sure we are,
Obviously,
but-
we'll know if one kid's been at Owens and decided to go to Orr or vice versa. We do have that as well. But I think more than anything, if you look at your kindergarten, your pre-K, your kindergarten, your first grade students is where you're going to find that's where the dips are. We'll give y'all a little heads up. There's some statutory maneuvering that's going to have to happen next year as far as our pre-K program goes, especially with the tuition-based programs that we've got. And local providers, if we have local providers in town, we're not supposed to be able to charge tuition pre-K. My question on that is what if people in town want to choose their local school system, or if there's not room at the inn for Green Acres or KK or Tiny Tots or North Tyler Day Nursery? Where are those students going to be served? We had that question about, are they going to be school ready? Just because you can't charge tuition pre-K anymore, that might be a little hurdle that we're going to have to overcome, because that's about a $600,000 hit to our school system by not being able to charge tuition pre-K anymore. So that's a little heads up for you as well. There's some statutory things. There's some external forces that are making some things difficult for us to get them at least to pre-K for next year. And coinciding with the attrition rate, the birth rates that are because of economic or maybe during the COVID era, those are some issues that are probably popping up for us now that we're starting to feel, that we will start to feel a little bit more in your early grades.
Okay, moving on. A through C, action items, we're going to pull B.
Public hearing of the budget.
You need to
Oh,
go.
I'm sorry,
you need to
public
add-
hearing on
yeah,
the.
There you go.
On the 26-27 budget.
That's anyone can speak on the budget. Dr. Ward? Mr. Dean? Mr. Buckner? Okay.
Okay. Now we go to action items.
We need to pull all three of those, or you need
All
to act
three.
on all three, excuse me, not pull, but I'll act on all three.
Okay. Anybody want to speak on 26-27 budget?
You've had, this actually wraps up the budget season for us. We've actually had meetings prior to this in regard to the development of the budget. I believe there's been 3 of those prior to today. This culminates that as we prepare for the 26-27 school year, our September 1 budget.
I move we adopt the 2026-27 budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Tax rate?
Next item is, this is another statutory removal that's maneuver that the board has to act individually on. We've actually are compressed and because of our values are told what our tax rate is to be. Is that correct, Ms. Russell?
Correct.
Thank you. That's the CFO that we have right there, very, very expert. And so we've got a motion for y'all to consider in regard to that. The language has been changed enough to where we actually are going to adopt or we're presenting a tax rate that's actually lower than last year. Is that correct, Ms. Russell?
Yes, 1 penny lower.
1 penny lower than last year. However, because of the way that statute is written, the following motion has to be read that way, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anything you'd like to say in regard to that, Mr. Lisea?
Yes, I've never read a short for words. Madam President, the tax rate that the legislature has set for us, I was under the assumption we set that, but I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.8350, which is effectively a 1.64% increase into the tax rate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Did you want to say something?
Absolutely. Let's reiterate that that is a penny less than last year, even though that is a weird way to get there.
Okay. Business and legal, finance consent
Oh,
agenda.
we got to go to C.
We're gonna
Consider
pull
approval. No, we still got one more action item
Oh.
in
I
C.
move we approve the 25-26 final amended
Okay.
budget.
There you go, Ms. Harrison.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Excellent.
Now, business, legal, finance consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything?
I wanted to just briefly discuss the Houston Independent School District curriculum item. We could pull it. I didn't really want, I just kind of wanted to look over it and talk a little bit about it. Because that's the stuff we're using at Bolzer, right?
At all ESE campuses.
I'm sorry, at LESC campus. I wanted to pull that.
Where is that?
That's not in this.
That's
one.
that's on curriculum.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Item 14. Anybody?
Anybody? Okay, could I get a motion?
Move to approve the business legal consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Now, what you want to pull, Mr. Lasea?
I just wanted to pull the, let me see, it is the Houston curriculum deal, which is item H.
Any others?
K.
Okay. Any others? Could I get a motion for the ones we did not?
I move we approve A through G, A through K with the, well, A through J.
A through G.
Well, I was going to pull H and K.
Okay, yeah.
A through K with the exception of H and K.
There you go.
Could we get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Let's talk about H.
I just wanted to pull it to go over it a little bit. This is the one we're using, obviously in agreement with Houston ISD on the curriculum portion of what we're doing over at Bolter, specifically to Bolter. I looked through the agreement. It all looks kosher. We're allowed to use this in other schools though, right? That's one thing. I know we can't use it for profit. We're not permitted to use it for commercial use. We can't sell it to Longview or anybody else. But if we wanted to use it at Austin or at Orr or somewhere else, we could do that, right?
Yes, sir, we are using it at those places.
Okay.
It's part of our Evergreen Systems of Excellence curriculum at about 9 campuses or so. 10. It's an even 10 at the whole. Okay, there you go.
We're already using this, so this is just basically kind of a, after the fact that we're approving this, because we've started using this about a month ago, right?
It's correct. It's carryover from last year. Remember last spring, the board did approve that same curriculum. That agreement has ended. We've actually started this year already. So this is more of a ratification, I guess, as you can say, but it is approval. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I move we approve item H.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Let's talk about K, the School Health Advisory Council.
So President Atkins actually has provided a name. I'm going to read these names for y'all to consider. Do y'all have anybody that you would like to add to the School Health Advisory Council? I'm going to read these names under this category, and y'all have to actually act on this to appoint them to the School Health Advisory Council. So let me go over this. Is it, I need my glasses. NIE Sanchez. Okay. Leslie Smith and Glenda Howard and Opal Wallace. Those are community members. Okay. Parent, Rachel Hester, who shall be the chair. Devin Churchill, secretary. Shronika Holmes. Those are parents. So that gets you to 7 community or parents. Ms. Barber, or Ms. Fox, dadgummit. Ms. Fox. Man, I'm going to pay for that one. Ms. Fox, is that going to be adequate enough? Okay, then we also have Rachel Fox, Director of Health Services, Haley Skinner, Coordinator of Health PE, Jennifer Hines, Chief Communications Officer, Jessica Bentley, Director of Guidance and Counseling. That is your shack. Is there anyone that we need to add to this? Quit laughing at me. Y'all good with that bunch?
Yeah.
Good.
Y'all good with that bunch? Okay, I think we've got some representation amongst the single-member districts in here. Maybe not all of them are covered, but it's not all located in 1 or 2. I think we've got maybe 4 of them covered, maybe 5. So we need to take action on that. It's
Can I get a motion?
There you go.
I move we approve the SAC appointments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Superintendent report.
So you have in front of you the wrapping the quarterly investment reports up for the fiscal year 2026. It includes the last one. If you've got any questions about that, anything that we need to know in regard to investment reports, especially this last quarter, Ms. Russell?
No, and I think on that first page, it shows a pretty good picture throughout the year. We're pretty consistent with our quarterly earnings. Most of our investments are not tied up for the year. They're going to be in more liquid investments, whereas that higher rate, that 4.625 on the high range of rate of return, that's going to be those long-term investments.
So any of the debt service stuff that we had in regard to building and construction, we used to get a pretty good return on that while we had millions of dollars in regard to construction, correct?
Yes, we kept most of those in pools that were pretty liquid because you don't want to tie that up for too long so that you can pay construction invoices. But yeah, that cash that was earning interest is pretty much paid out.
It's all gone, and auditors have seen that over the last 3 years and came back clean bill of health on that audit, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and our first ratings maintained pretty high as well. That does have some of that to do with first ratings, correct?
Yes.
Okay, there's your investment report.
Okay, future business, September 21st, 2026, we'll have another regular board meeting. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, meeting adjourned. Have a great evening.
Guess what I just heard?
You good?